Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Mecha World discussion. We haven't had one of these for a long time, so I'm getting really excited. I'm hoping that I can talk about something really cool with you guys today, and something that impacts our gaming industry as a whole. So let's sit down and let's talk about hype. Now, gaming hype, if you guys don't know what that is basically just the expectation of a game, whether overblown or not, the anticipation and the feeling that you get, when a game is upcoming and hasn't been released yet, of excitedness, exuberance, just, really waiting for the game to come out. A little bit of anxiety thrown in there as well, which is cool. So hype is a system that is something that's, created just on the bare fact of stuff that's anticipated. We have things in our society, especially in gaming culture, that, have a lot of weight behind them, a lot of gravitas, something that people as a gamer, I guess we'll narrow it down to our region of the world. uh, we want to put these kinds of values on different things, and because of certain things that happen with these values that we create, they get inflated over certain periods of time and with a larger group, and they turn into something that's really akin to like a beast or like a monster, and something that's much like a monster lashes out and creates different types of discord within the community. Now, I'm going to argue about two different things today. The first one is going to be the necessity of hype, why we need it, why it's never going to go away, and why it's something that's just a bare product of our system as a gaming society. But I'd also like to speak about in this video hype and the destructive nature of it. Hype itself it's a house of cards. It's basically something that is very easy to topple. And when it does, it kind of destroys the whole thing that's going on for it. So I'm really going to be directing this towards a particular game today, which is going to be No Man's Sky. And the reason is because we've had one more discussion video on No Man's Sky. If you want to check that one out, I'm sure I'll have a card up in the top for it. But the cool thing about, I guess, the most interesting thing that's happening with No Man's Sky right now is that the community is having you know, they're a hype blowout. It's basically, they've ballooned the hype for this game up to certain extravagant levels, which is exactly what the nature of hype is, and because of that, people are going to be, there's a lot of warring in the streets over certain footages and stuff that make No Man's Sky appear to be just a game, because it's just a game. So I guess that's the first point. What does hype do to video games? So for me, and the things that I've noticed in an observatory nature, as well as just being part of the industry myself in a firsthand nature. But hype itself it's something that will make or break a game's initial sales. So why is this important? This is important because most commercialism, most marketing for these games is going to be directed towards generating what we colloquially call as hype. They're trying to get a certain amount of people invested in it, because once you get enough people invested in it, you have like the mob mentality take place, and you've got a ton of people that are ready to pretty much defend something that they're not even quite really sure 100% what it is, because they haven't tried it out themselves yet, but ready to defend it to the death against people that don't say that. And then you get a growing community, and that's what really generates really good sales, first party sales, or sales in the first region of the market, which is cool for them opening up. So that's why most companies and are going to be targeting, generating a good amount of sensationalism, which is all that hype is. So what we have is basically an industry where it's focused towards, at least in the initial part of marketing the game, generating excitement for it. And this is my first kind of nod towards why I think, one, hype is never going to go away, and two, why I think it's actually necessary for the ecosystem of video gaming. Because hype does one thing that's very positive, and that's it brings awareness to certain products. So, for instance, like No Man's Sky, it never would have perforated the market as much as it had if there haven't been that huge amount of hype, backed up by different developer sayings about, like, this is one of the most massive games that's ever been created. Hype is really generated by these individual phrases that people can use to kind of wow people, which is, it's great marketing, I suppose. Because of that, we'll get back to the negative aspect of that later. It can really be boiled down into something that is very generic, and then therefore can be attacked by other people. But in its rarest, or in its base essence, hype is there to generate awareness for content, and this is a great thing. The more that our market can be, saturated with games that people are aware of, you know, the more informed of a choice the consumer has, and the better a better informed consumer definitely runs the market way better than somebody that's just buying something that you know, they're not quite sure what it is. So because, you know, ipso facto, so basically here's the laydown here. You know, somebody hears about a game. Somebody watches some trailers on the game. The trailers on the game look really cool to them, and they see a lot of the marketing, and the marketing is like, wow, this game is awesome. So they go to their best buddy, and they're like, dude, check out this game. This game is awesome. So the buddy is awesome. That's cool. So he's got his own YouTube channel. He posts a video on YouTube, posts something on Facebook. So through these like lines of basically consumer marketing, you get all these trailers and stuff about a game that was previously probably not as well known before. You know, generated towards people that are, you know, are going to be able to see, you know, a game that they may have never even, you know, seen before or been interested in buying before. And something like this really drives sales. This is something that's, you know, obviously it's the point of creating, you know, good marketing strategies and good hype and good commercialism. But also the benefit of that is you get more people out there buying games and being more informed, or at least aware of certain games that are in their ecosphere, and they're able to make, you know, better informed decisions on what games they want to buy and how many they want to buy. And, you know, when people see, like, for instance, when I see a large amount of games on the horizon that I'm interested in, the previous months before, I will put out, you know, I will spend less money in anticipation of being able to buy more games. So once you, as a consumer, know about more games that you're interested in, you can use that to, you know, save yourself some money and then go buy all of these games, which for the market means that they're going to get a larger influx of money. Money helps. I mean, I don't know if I really need to explain why money helps the economy so much, but hype generates consumer awareness, and consumer awareness generates capital for businesses, for games, for developers, and this is something that I think is very good as a whole for society. Now, the reason why we picked No Man's Sky is because we need to sit down and really look at what the destructive nature of hype is. So No Man's Sky is a game that has a lot of the main components of what make up hype, which is very sensationalized, generalized, and rather phenomenal marketing associated with it. And normally in small sayings that people can really grasp their hands on and show their other people and be like, yo, this game is going to be great. Check it out. It's got 18 quintillion planets on it. Something like that makes you step back and go, what? Really? And then you can have it explained to you and look into it a little bit further. The game itself has had a lot of footage released. I feel like people don't really understand how much footage of No Man's Sky has been released. It was announced a couple of years ago. I believe VGA Awards 2013. I'm not quite sure, but it's had about 3 years of marketing time. And in that marketing time, there's been, you know, developer demos. There's been demos with IGN. There's been hundreds of articles. I mean, people that are saying that I don't know what to do in this game or what this game is about have really missed a large amount of like hours of content that's already been released on this game. So I won't say that this hype has been created and then, you know, with a negative aspect, because sometimes the way that you can do hype negatively is to create all these generalized sayings about things, but don't really show it, because you know that the game that you have to show isn't going to be, you know, isn't going to live up to the things that you've been saying about it, but you're still generating that kind of content so that you can get a better day one sale rate and a pre-order rate for video games. Now this is something that's, you know, it's going to be in the minds of most people when they're looking at No Man's Sky, but I would very much strongly like to say that No Man's Sky has had huge amounts of content put in on it. If you don't know what the game looks like, sounds like, feels like, don't know what the aspects of the game are at this point, don't know what you do, then you're not looking into the game enough, and that's not the fault of the hype. That's not the fault of the consumers that have, you know, showed you the game. It's the fault of you and your own self if you are that interested in the game. That's my personal opinion. Obviously, this is a discussion video, so I hope you guys discuss your own comments and below, but that is going to be your fault. So for this game, like, it's a really important game. A lot of what's been said about it gives the idea that this game is going to be, you know, changing a lot of the ways that we see game development in general, especially being able to fit that much content on a 6 GB disc, being able to do all these different things that you wouldn't expect that a game would be able to do. You know, especially with such a small independent development team, you really wonder what's the magic that's going on there. It's all of a procedural nature, but to what point is it all procedural, and what kind of rules do you have in place? So this, along with the amalgamation of, like, you know, we haven't had a really great sci-fi game come out. Destiny is probably the largest sci-fi game that came out recently, and it doesn't really itch that explorer itch that people have been looking for. And you know, sci-fi is a very large community in our video game, you know, obviously it's stuff like Dead Space and Mass Effect, great, you know, great sci-fi oriented games, but like a good massive science fiction game built on old school science fiction values. You know, most of us that play video games, we're nerds. we do nerdy things. And a lot of nerd culture latches onto sci-fi because sci-fi itself has more depth than a lot of other genres do. It takes a lot of thought and a lot of articulate literacy to be able to delve into something like sci-fi because there's a lot of concepts happening at the same time, and it really requires a mind that wants to look outward into a different kind of universe. I'm talking about good sci-fi, not shitty sci-fi, because there's a big difference. So No Man's Sky, it's a sci-fi game. It's something that's proclaimed to be very big. We as a society seem to be attached onto games that are really big. I suppose we just like to have as much content as we possibly can to satisfy our $60 purchase. But because of that, the hype ballooned in a way that you'll see with games that are promising a lot of things and are striving for a lot of things. So the game itself is really striving, and this is a good thing. Games should always strive to be something better because that's what causes innovation in the market. So this game pushing to do all these things that it's talking about and stuff like that, this is a good thing. Whether or not they accomplish all of that, stuff like that's really got to be communicated better as to what things are actually, being accomplished in the game. Buzzwords and buzz phrases are used a lot because that's what marketing is. It's just generating buzz, hence the term. But it's also, there should be some sort of honesty to the customer, which is, No Man's Sky's marketing in particular has been, about having like the least amount of information about like what you accomplish in the game and certain secrets of the game. And I respect the need to do that, but because of the way that it was approached, I feel like this has really hardly impacted a lot of people that have been following this game. So if you guys go to Reddit and you head to the No Man's Sky the game subreddit, you'll see basically an implosion that's happened in the past week, and this is all due to hype. People have hyped up this game to be, larger than God. This is Jesus's game. This is the game that Jehovah's Witnesses play on their, on their downtime before they're about to come into your door and knock and ask you to convert to their religion. This is the game that people of like a deific status will play on their own. This is what Thor brings with his fucking PlayStation. And this has been built up to be that kind of game in people's lives. And it's been, touted as such with a lot of people. Like, people will pull it in their face. Wow, what, you don't think this is, gonna have this and this? Well, check out this game, man. It does all this much better. Or the second thing that really, really antagonizes and I think elicits a lot of hype is a certain exclusivity. Again, in this day and age, it seems with video game systems, there's a lot of exclusives going around left and right. And again, that's natural. That's something that happens with the market. No, it's probably not the best thing for the rest of us, but it's something that is there because of the way that we built our market. We don't want a monopolization. Never a good thing, I think, in a market, because letting one person have control over everything. So the best way to split up and create competition is to create exclusives. So this here is an exclusive for console exclusive for the PlayStation 4, and it does come to the PC as well. So with that kind of combative nature, a lot of people will use that in an effort to kind of build up the game to be more than it is, because with gaming exclusives, for some people, for some whatever reason, they rest their laurels, they rest their life, they rest the hype, on top of this kind of stuff, or because it satisfies, their reason, I guess, to the public society for buying the game system that they chose. I don't quite understand all of it, but I do understand that exclusives are important to people, and it's important to the gaming economy, and because of that, it inflates the game a lot more. So with this game, it's an exclusive. It's something that's had a lot of generalized, buzzwords, a lot of marketing that's been directed towards generating lots of hype for day one sales, because it was a game developed, in part by Sony, but mostly by Hello Games, funded by Sony, developed by Hello Games, a rather unknown studio. So market perforation is the number one concern, or for the marketing team, and they did it well, and they did it too well. So the destructive nature of hype is that it causes people to it causes people to think about a game in a different way than it really should be. Instead of just a game in which, it made by humans, which are very, very flawed, very, the kind of creatures that will make mistakes. We build it up to be way more than it is. We put the game on a pedestal, as Steve Carell or, one of those folks from the 40-Year-Old Virgin would put it. We're putting the game on the pedestal. And we treat it as, something that's like above, um, you know, the idea that it may be followable. And because of that, when it's shown to be just a game that is followable, then you run into people being like, "Oh my God, like this is, it's really the loss of something super important to a lot of people." And a lot of people will go a couple of routes. They'll go the denial route in the sense that this footage isn't true, or it's been leaked from a beta copy, or this is the kind of thing that's just not going to be appearing in the game. They'll fix this, whatever. And then there's some people that will go in the other route and be like, you know what, this game is trash. This is something that I don't agree with because you ruined this one thing for me, or because this one thing didn't turn out to be accurate. Like, this game is nothing to me. And both are a product of the amount, the age range of a lot of people, which, it's going to be within the teenage to the young adult range that are mostly playing video games at this, point in time, including mid-adults too. But in that younger age range, there's you're a lot more prone to get, more emotional about these kinds of things. With a community like a sci-fi community, which again, requires a lot of depth and a very certain, type of personality to jump into that kind of thing, or at least, for a lot of people, you get a lot of intellectuals that are into that kind of stuff, and intellectuals are a lot more prone to be argumentative about certain things. And trust me, I don't consider myself a smart guy at all, but I do consider myself to be an intellectual in the sense of I like intellect. And I'm prone to be a little bit argumentative about things. I have my own opinions on pieces, and because of that, it creates this big, flame war that's been happening a lot in the No Man's Sky subreddit, and with other games as well. This is going to happen with a lot of different games down the road. Hype is never going to die. It's never going to go away. Hype is something that's created by us, and it's created by us as a byproduct of just being social creatures that like to talk about and like to be excited about things. So there's a couple of things I want to note very strongly. There is nothing wrong with being excited. There's really nothing wrong with the essence of hype at all. But tempering expectations is probably the most important thing that you can do when anticipating a video game. Doesn't mean you can't be excited for it. Doesn't mean that it's something that you're gonna want to throw to the side and be like, hey, this is trash. I will never play this again if it doesn't meet up to these standards that are pretty impossible standards. It just means that you need to look at things beforehand and be like, you know what, I'm really excited for this game. There's a couple things that might go wrong about it. Some things might not turn out to code. This happens with all games, but it's something I'm really excited to play, and I hope that it turns out great, and I'll see you on August 10th, and it'll be a great time. That's the best way to approach hype, is to utilize it, understand that it's there, become a part of it, because that's a great feeling, being a part of a hyped community that's like, we're so excited for this game, great. But then also temper your expectations a little bit, because hype is something that can really destroy large communities, especially communities based on something that, the more hype it is, the more people are invested in it, the bigger the schism is, the bigger the conflict and the fallout is from that. And it also, on the other end, you'll get people that are like, the people that decide to like cancel pre-orders because the hype was, disgusting, or you feel like the game's trash at that point in time, that sensationalizes other people to do the same thing, harms the game. And unless it's a bad game that deserves it, because there are some games that have been hyped and they don't deserve the hype, and at that point they deserve to lose their customers because they lied, then it's not the best practice to have, because we as gamers, we want a gaming market that is profitable, because that creates more content for us and better content and more talent to come to the side of the developers to work, because they know that there's money in it. Sucks, but the biggest incentive for people to work in a certain field is the money is there for it. And that's a large issue with a lot of different things in society, but the best thing for gamers is to make sure that there is money in the market. And trust me, there's a lot of money in the gaming market, and that's why we're getting a lot of different developers and a lot of different really cool projects on the works now. But you also have to keep your companies in check. A lot of people will, try and put the profit as the main ideal, when you really need the passion as the main ideal, with the profit as a motivator to back it up. And that's what I feel like really been done with No Man's Sky and a lot of other of my favorite games too. The profit is something that they're definitely expecting. They put a lot of work and a lot of hard effort into this game, but the passion was definitely there first. These guys love this game. They love the concept of this game, and they built the hype up with the marketing team and the marketing help of Sony, and I think it was deserved. This is a game that they haven't lied about. This is a game that they haven't really put out, marginalized or false statements about. They've said exactly, what it is and what it aims to do. And there are some statements that people will jump on as like, a lot of A lot of these planets are supposed to be barren, but in a lot of these leaked streams and leaked copies, we've seen that most of the planets have life in them and stuff like that. But the important things, the core aspects of the gameplay that they've really gotten down to at this point when they've stopped making statements about certain things, which will definitely change during development anyway, you can really understand the message that they're trying to put out, and it's not a message that was meant to lie to you. This is a message that was meant to excite you about the game, and as we've gone over, that's totally acceptable, at least for me. So I think we've answered most of, or at least talked about most of what I wanted to talk about in this episode of Mech World Discussions. But basically, hype is necessary for the survival and the prosperity of the video game community. It creates excitement, it generates revenue, it creates all sorts of things for people to latch onto. It gives you as the consumer better awareness and better knowledge about certain titles that are out there on the horizon. That's a great thing. Hype can be really destructive. That's my second point. Hype, because of what it is in essence, which is just a social structure that we create, causes a lot of fallout and a lot of schisms and a lot of contempt for communities that break apart because of this hype, and a lot of them over-exaggerate into, this game is going to be great, you cannot talk a single thing about it, otherwise I will shun you, or this game is going to be trash, these guys did not follow up on their word and I refuse to pay any penny towards it. What we really need is a middle ground in these schisms that's like, you know what, let's temper our expectations, because hype is all about creating excitement but tempering expectations. So hopefully you guys can remember that in the future and let people know hype is great, but just be excited about it and temper your expectations. Be part of that community, but don't be the guy that's like, this game is infallible, and don't be the guy that's like, this game is going to be trash just because they tried to generate a good market for it. And my last point, which I wanted to talk about and wanted to discuss with you guys, is that hype is never going to go away. Hype is something we've talked about is necessary to stimulate, market growth and stuff like that. Hype is a good thing because it does this, but it's also a natural byproduct of the system that we're living in right now. So unless things really drastically change, including the structure of our economy and the structure of development and stuff like that, hype is here to stay. And you should embrace it rather than push it away and be one of those people that's like, this game has a lot of hype, I don't even want to look at it because it's hyped up so much. Don't be that person, which a lot of people will stereotype as hipsters, that just move away from something because it's popular or because it has generated excitement. That's not the way these things are supposed to go. It doesn't mean fall in. It doesn't mean be a sheep. It doesn't mean be one with the crowd. It means take advantage of the opportunity to look at the things that have been presented to you. Take advantage of the fact that we have a social, society right now that has a lot of ways for people to know and learn about different products and different things that they may actually apply to them and it may actually be fun for them. So don't be the guy that's like, this game is just way too hyped, I don't even care what it is, what it looks like, or what it's about. I'm going the other way just because a lot of people are excited about it. Because that is probably the worst way to approach hype. Be excited about it once you've learned about it, if you are enjoyed by it, and then temper your expectations. But hype is never going to go away. So whether you want it to, I'm sorry, it's going to go nowhere. Hype is going to be generated by this system for two reasons. One, it's something we naturally do as people when we're excited about games, is hype them up. It's a lot of people are I work as a salesman in a lot of different places, so that's my job, is to hype it up. My job is to talk about things that I'm really passionate about and make it exciting because I'm excited for them and I like to transfer that to other people. Yes, one, it generates sales on the company side and on the corporate side, but also on the individual side, it gives you more knowledge, it gets you excited for different things that you may actually really be excited for. And that's a great thing, to be part of a community that's excited for something that's going to release. And so the second reason, it's a natural thing for us to do, so it's not going anywhere. And the second thing, even if it wasn't a natural thing for us to do, this is something that companies are ingrained to do with their marketing team. This is the best way for them to get day one sales. This is the best way for them to get as many pre-orders as they can. This is the best way for them to generate revenue up front, which is really important. As much as like generating a movie on the opening weekend for a movie is important, it's the same thing for video games. You got to have that profit there in the initial part, because it's going to start to die down afterwards. So even if it weren't something that was completely natural to us, this is something that's going to keep coming at us. So my main thing to take away from this video, embrace the hype. Nothing wrong with it, but temper your expectations for games, because otherwise you're going to get into silly things. That's all I had to say about the subject. Thank you guys for watching this discussion so much. If you guys don't understand what the purpose of discussions are, I probably should have talked about it in the earlier in the video, but basically, listening to my opinion on these kind of questions and then have them directed back at you. So I want to know what you guys think about hype. Is it something that should be eradicated from gaming society? Is it something that is necessary to gaming society? Is hype a positive thing like I have posited that it is? Is hype something that, is generated that will never go away? All of these things I've talked about in these videos, I've given you my answers on, and in a very simple fashion, if you guys want to boil it down. Hype is never going to go away. These are my personal opinions. Hype's never going to go anywhere. Hype is important to the economy, and hype is a good thing. So take with that what you will, but I'd love to see some discussions in the comments about all this kind of stuff, and I'll be active there in the comments as well, because the point of all of these videos is to generate a great discussion. So that's what I'm here for, and I hope you guys, play nice in the field down there. You guys are, of course, welcome to like and dislike this video as you will, but I thank you guys for dropping by. I do a lot of other cool content on my show. So if you guys like Let's Plays, if you guys like, buddy gaming adventures that I do with my friends, if you guys like news interpretations, if you guys like reviews, if you guys like comedy, anything that having to do with commentary, I do all that stuff on my channel, and it's all oriented towards video games, some of the best games in the world, Dark Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, yada yada. So if you find your way to the subscribe button, you'll be notified when a new video of mine comes up. If you guys want to like the video, if you guys do like the video, it does help me out, but I want you to be honest and like it or dislike it as you see fit. Thank you guys so much for dropping by. I hope to see you guys as part of the Mech Army, and I hope to see you guys next show.